Welcome back to the Boilermaker Breakdown, your midweek update on Purdue Athletics. I'm your host, Matthew Stout. Ahead, the softball team got the Big Ten season started on the right note, while the women's swimming and diving team has some new All-Americans. But our top story, it was a tough end of the season for the women's basketball team.
The Boilermakers hosted the first two rounds of the NCAA tournament at Mack Arena last weekend. After a dominant win on Saturday over the 13th-seeded Akron, the Boilermakers took on 5th-seeded Oklahoma State on Monday night. Coach Versup's team could never quite get the offense going, falling to the Cowgirls 73-66. Afterwards, Coach Versup talked about the disappointing end to a very challenging season.
You know, we say this every year, but I think this year, because we've dealt with so many issues, like 5 heavy life-death situations, just so proud of them, you know. And KK was a huge loss just because, you know, she's been playing here for 5 years and has been part of that senior class. So, you know, you're falling short from the Sweet 16 basketball-wise, but when you talk about everything else as a group of young women, they're a top in the country.
The Boilermakers finished their season with a 22-9 overall record. The women's swimming and diving teams also saw their season come to a close with a top 25 finish at the national championships.
Led by divers Michelle Cabasol and Mackenzie Tweardy, the Boilermakers placed 25th at nationals. Cabasol earned All-America honors in the 3-meter springboard, finishing 4th, while Tweardy was an All-American on the platform, finishing 8th. It was the 8th time in the last 10 years the Boilers have finished the season in the top 25. The wrestling team also wrapped up its season with 3 Boilermakers competing at NCAAs. Cash Kuroga posted a pair of wins but finished 1 victory away from earning All-America honors, just missing out on the podium in Oklahoma City. The baseball team went 2-2 on the week, winning a road game at Southern Illinois last Friday and taking their home opener Wednesday out at Alexander Field. The Boilermakers defeated IPFW 7-1 in a game that was postponed today due to snow. Coach Schreiber's team is now 4-16 on the year, and they open Big Ten play this weekend at Illinois. The softball team swept a 3-game series at Penn State to open Big Ten play. The Boilermakers averaged more than 10 runs per game in this series, and infielder Tori Kyoto earned Big Ten Player of the Week honors. The Boilermakers now have won 6 in a row. The men's tennis team posted a 2-1 record last week with wins over Denver and Princeton. The Boilermakers are now 9-3 on the year and currently ranked 40th in the country. They get back to Big Ten action this weekend, hosting Minnesota and Wisconsin. The women's team had a tough spring break trip, falling to Arizona and Arizona State. Purdue's now 5-7 on the season, hoping to get back on track this weekend at Minnesota and Wisconsin. Track and field had a great weekend out in Southern California. Raheem Mostert won the 100-meter dash, and Chuck Inekwechi set a new Nigerian national record while taking second place in the hammer throw. Both the men and women placed second in the USC Trojan Invite. The Boilermakers opened the home outdoor season this weekend at the Rankin Track and Field Complex. And the golf teams were in action last week, with the men finishing 4th at the Lone Star Invitational in San Antonio. Individually, Adam Schenk once again led the way, finishing 3 under for the tournament and tying for 8th place. The women, meanwhile, finished 5th at the LSU Tiger Invitational last week. The Boilermakers finished behind 3 top 20 teams in the field, along with 29th ranked Kentucky.
We continue celebrating the 100th year of the Big Ten Medal of Honor. Corey Palm delves into the not-so-distant past to remember one of the most heralded duos to ever win the award in Purdue history.
In 2001, Drew Brees and Camille Cooper won the Big Ten Medal of Honor. Brees led the Boilermakers to the Rose Bowl as a senior, earning All-America honors and finishing 3rd in the Heisman Trophy race. He has gone on to a 12-year career in the NFL, winning the Super Bowl and earning MVP honors, while also forming the Brees Dream Foundation, which helps nonprofit groups in West Lafayette, San Diego, and New Orleans. Cooper led her team to 2 Final Fours and a national championship in her time at Purdue. She was named Honorable Mention All-American as a senior and earned first-team All-Big Ten honors twice. After a few years in the WNBA, Cooper earned her law degree. She is now an attorney living in Dallas with her husband and 2 kids. Just further proof that Boilermakers continue to change the world.
That does it for this week's breakdown. Don't forget to join us next week for all the latest. Boiler up!